championship shape. And, you know, we have a ways to go as a roster. And certainly there are individuals that were in phenomenal shape. There's certainly other ones that could have been in better shape. That's where my mind goes immediately is you know, we have to get in championship shape.
Peter Rosenberg joining the conversation. Okay, so JJ said phenomenal shape, some people that need to be in better shape, but everyone was not in championship shape. Wendy, was JJ out of bounds in saying this?
I don't think he's out of bounds. I think it's inherent. I do think it's interesting that he was, you know, playing Luka an entire second half, and then 2 days later, 3 days later, saying he's, you know, implying he's got to get in better shape. Those two things don't necessarily go together. I will say this about JJ. When JJ played, he kept himself in great shape. He knows what it is to be, you know, get into championship shape in the offseason. Professional on a high level for a decade now. And his coaches in Slovenia said this. His coaches in Spain, where he played for Real Madrid, said this. Obviously, the organization in Dallas said this. And now you have the Lakers saying it. It's always been true. He's a brilliant player who could be better if he did this. And year after year, he has not necessarily fully done it. So we will see again. But if you're the Mavericks, you've already taken a position in this bet. And they voted with their actions.
Jay?
JJ Redick. JJ Redick was not out of bounds. Mm-hmm. He is the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. It's perfectly within his right to say what he said. And the fact that everybody is looking at Luka and pointing at Luka and thinking he's talking about Luka is an indictment against Luka, because it's not the first time we've heard this subject associated with his name or his team. Anytime somebody brings up conditioning and they're talking about a team that Luka is on, they're talking about Luka. All right? That doesn't mean he's the only one you're talking about, but certainly he's your primary focus. And I think that the way to deduce this is to realize it for the reality check that it is. If you're J.J. Redick, you are a rookie coach. I think he did a damn good job. First 50-win season the Lakers have had since 2019-2020. When they won the title. We understand that, even though he came up short and got bounced out in the first round. Yeah, he made some mistakes along the way. Perk pointed out lack of adjustments to some degree, even though he tried to do a few things, as Jay pointed out. But in the end, he had no faith in his big men and no faith in his bench. So that's what it comes down to. So he's looking at the future. And in looking at the future, how much time left does LeBron James have? Yes, he has a player option. Yes, we anticipate that he'll be back next season. But LeBron is free to walk if he wants to, all right? And the bottom line is, assuming he stays, which we all assume will happen, how long is that going to be for? You know Luka's going to be around for the next decade. You look at LeBron as being year to year at this point. And if JJ is coaching the Los Angeles Lakers, he's saying, okay, this is the cat that we got to rely on. And it can't be what they were saying in Dallas, that he was running the show, operating to his own beat, working when he wanted to work, not working when he didn't want to work, having team officials having to communicate with his team because they couldn't communicate with him directly unless he felt like it and stuff like that. You can't be wearing the purple and gold with their tradition and what have you, and you are operating that way, because you will tarnish the brand. And that's really the bigger picture here. JJ didn't allude to that. I am. But in the end, I think that's what it comes down to, because the expectations in Los Angeles when it comes to the Lakers are championships. Every major star that has ever worn the purple and gold has captured a championship. Is Luka going to be the one that doesn't? And I don't recall any one of those champions, any one of those superstars that we talked about, ever being accused of being out of shape, outside of when people said stuff about Shaq, and Shaq was just so damn dominant, he didn't mind eating 3 Big Macs a day. I mean, that's just the way it was. He'd still dominate you.
Well, here's the thing. The initial question was, was it in bounds or out of bounds for JJ to say it? No, it's not out of bounds. He's the head coach of the team. What it was, though, was nasty work. It wasn't what needed to be said in this moment, as JJ Redick, A, is suffering a defeat in which, if we're being honest, a lot of eyeballs are on him for decisions that he made. So to say this thing when you know the entire world, because that is the standard that's been set recently from leaving Dallas, is that Luka is the one who's out of shape. Whether the average fan can see it or is aware of it or not, that is the conversation that exists. So when he gets up there and says people need to be more in shape, he is deciding in that spot to call out the best player on his team, the player who's going to be the guy for him in the coming year. How much better are we expecting Luka Doncic to be? He has been all world, as Brian just talked about. He has been all world for a very long time, being slightly out of shape.
Peter, you can't have 9 blow-bys in a game. I mean, when you are no factor defensively whatsoever, that is debilitating to a team.
Absolutely. And listen, if he loses 20 pounds for next year, and that's what he should do, is come in better shape, that is absolutely a great thing to do. I don't know if this is the best approach for JJ to getting there. I really don't think it is.
So, Pete, I would push back on that and say, I don't think anyone knows what the right approach is for Luka Doncic.
Because nothing's worked.
I think we've seen a ton of approaches. We came on the show yesterday, and Stephen A. and I were talking about Nico Harrison, a person that we've both known for a long time, who was Kobe Bryant's best friend and Nike rep. I'm sure there were a lot of conversations between Nico Harrison and Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic about what he needed to do for his conditioning. Now, it never got called out publicly. So I hear you on the comments with the reporter the other day. JJ Redick could have handled that differently. And you can, doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, we can agree.